Cults. A relatively small group of people that have religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. Nobody's surprised to hear that strange communities have existed on the internet for as long as the internet itself has existed. Cults, however, are a little bit more than just a strange community. When applying this definition to reality though, you start realizing that there are many things around us and around the internet that can qualify to being of cultish nature to a certain extent. This, however, can manifest itself in many different ways, some more dangerous than others, and as you will see from this video, cults and cultish ideologies are actually all over the internet. Some of them are so well hidden that not even their own members realize that they're in one. In my previous video, we went over the hidden side of online New Age communities, focusing mainly on Discord and YouTube. We uncovered that many spiritual Discord servers were abusing their power and influence over their members to brainwash, scam, harass, and even groom them. In this video documentary, we're gonna dive a bit deeper into the world of New Age movements on the internet, learning about it and uncovering its many secrets and stories in the process. We're gonna be going over some pretty dark topics of mental health, self-harm, cult ideology, online brainwashing, online rituals, mental powers, and even kidnapping, all done through social platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, and yes, even Discord of all places. And if you think that's crazy, that's not even the half of it. The underground world of New Age movements is full of many dark secrets, and as you will see, of many vulnerable individuals being manipulated and taken advantage of on a daily basis. This video will be divided into 3 consecutive parts, each with a certain theme, and each part will be more disturbing than the last. There will also be many chapters within the progress bar and in the description, each one focusing on a specific topic, so feel free to use them. And without wasting any more time, let's get right into our first subject.
I was scrolling through TikTok and this lady made a video about shifting, like how you can practice guided meditations and stuff like that to kind of explore like fictional worlds. Like I remember there was a really popular one being Harry Potter. Like there were a lot of people trying to shift to the Harry Potter universe. Like that was like a common thing. I ended up clicking on this lady's and went down the rabbit hole out of curiosity.
Mind over matter. Being able to control a physical condition or problem by solely using the mind. Part 1 is all about understanding the mental side of things, an introduction into the world of New Age beliefs and its many groups and circles. And the best way of doing this is by diving headfirst into one of its biggest online communities, one that I've wanted to go over for a long time, a community that's absolutely taken over TikTok in the last 2 years. And that is reality shifting.
This is for anybody who wants to shift.
This is a reality shifting technique designed to send images and emotions to your subconscious mind.
Basically, reality shifting is shifting your subconscious awareness from this reality to another.
Here's a shifting method for those who can't visualize. What you probably want to do is shift to Hogwarts or an anime or anywhere you want to shift to. Here are some things you need to remember when you shift for the first time to your desired reality. The people in that reality have thoughts and feelings just like the people in this reality.
For those of you who don't know what this is, reality shifting is a spiritual practice in which a person purposely transmutes themselves into another reality. Putting themselves in a meditative state that resembles lucid dreaming, the person is then able to live out an entire other life and existence in another universe completely. Literally traveling or shifting their consciousness into another parallel universe of their choosing. It's pretty hard to believe or imagine, but the people that do it and practice it swear by it. They claim that it works and that they've been able to travel to a variety of fictional worlds from books to movie universes and even animated shows. Some of them even claim to have lived out many months and years in their desired realities over a single night in real lifetime. It even gets to the point where people have complete psychotic breakdowns once they come back from their shifts, having lived out what seems to them to be an entire other lifetime in another universe. They are shocked once they wake up back in their bedrooms. Others want to stay in their desired fictional worlds forever. The online presence of reality shifting and the history behind it is a bit murky, but some of the earliest evidence of its existence on the internet was the r/dimensional jumping subreddit that was launched back in 2014. Although shifting itself as a practice is probably way older than that. It wasn't until 2020 that this online trend would explode in popularity through TikTok. During a perfect time when everyone was stuck indoors, the reality shifting community grew exponentially then. Many children and teenagers joined in, hoping to finally escape reality to live out their fantasies. They've recently started going by this logo as a way to identify each other without having to speak it. But a person who wishes to shift would have to go through many steps and precautions before they can finally achieve a reality jump. First, they would have to pick a place they would want to travel to, from their current reality, CR, to their desired reality, or DR. These are shifting terms. Then the person would have to write a script of what their life would be like once they're there, what characters would be there, even what events or story would develop once they arrive. After that, the process begins where a person tries to put themselves in a trance-like state using a variety of techniques and methods. All of them are meditative in nature, and all of them are meant to put you in a liminal state between reality and fantasy. And once that's done, according to shifters, you will be able to live in any imaginary or fictional world of your choosing. This fantasy, though, sadly, is not all flowers and rainbows, as you will get to see.
I'm not really sure how long shifting as a trend has existed. It's probably been around for probably 10 years, to be honest. It's probably been as old as YouTube or just the internet in general, but it was probably nicher. But I feel like it started gaining a lot more traction on TikTok. Probably just kids scrolling through TikTok on their parents' phone or their older sibling's phone or something like that, and they don't know what it is, and they're really gullible, and they're just gonna end up believing it just because. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that are not entirely mentally there who have also been affected by that trend. People that have mental disorders that I don't know, their idea of reality is just a little warped because of a disorder like schizophrenia or something like that. I'm sure a lot of the people that end up thinking that stuff is real, their situation, it's escapism, and that's really what it is. I mean, I'm sure the kid that falls for that is probably not having the best situation at home or at school or whatever. They're probably getting picked on. It's harmful because it's just not real. It's like a mental disorder almost. It's a self-given psychosis, and it's just, I can't see it as something that's good for someone to, people already are so, just kind of are in their own head and in their own reality. But just the idea of someone thinking that they live in an entirely fictional world is just insane. And it's insane that kids are to that right now. I don't know, that just can't be good. I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything, but I don't know, the idea of you being able to go to a world that isn't real constantly and you thinking that's reality, that's not good for you. That shouldn't really be a thing.
To be honest, when I first discovered shifting, my first thought was, of course, how could this possibly be real? But my second, after looking a bit further into it, was how could this possibly not be harmful to people? Especially when I saw that the majority of the target audience of such a practice were impressionable young teenagers. The sad truth is that my anonymous friend over here is right to a certain extent. To answer my first question, shifting doesn't really work, at least not scientifically. Instead, what is actually happening is that the person is creating a fiction inside their own minds. And the problem with this is that these shifting rituals that these children and teenagers are forcing themselves through on a nightly basis can actually have some pretty dark side effects. In the last video, we briefly talked about the world of subliminals, a section online and on YouTube where people try to use subliminals to manifest all kinds of things into their reality. Subliminals can be created in multiple forms in media, but you will find a majority of them online in forms of music, noise, or some other form of audio. Subliminals are a form of sound played at a specific frequency with a hidden message played underneath the music meant to be only received by your subconscious mind. The science behind this stuff, just like with shifting, is not convincing to say the least, but the psychological effects of shifting cannot be ignored. Our brains, after all, are powerful, and so many find themselves utilizing online subliminals to quote-unquote manifest things or brain hack themselves into becoming something else. And what we uncovered in the last video was a whole underground world right here on YouTube utilizing subliminals to help people manifest extremely harmful things into their lives. Things like anorexia to help them lose weight, mental disorders like autism, ADHD, and mutism, manifesting the ability to self-harm without pain, and even manifesting a kidnapping to finally escape the mundaneness of life and life's problems. What was even more disturbing though is that the majority of the comments under these videos were of minors and children who for one reason or another were actively watching these subliminals. And from their comments and their testimonials, it seems like these subliminals were actually working for them. I'm not gonna go over the details, but some of these comments are pretty disturbing to read, with many swearing that they've been able to develop diagnosable disorders, that they've attracted stalkers, and that they've been able to harm themselves all through the use of these subliminals. What I believe is happening is through the placebo effect and the repetitiveness of this procedure, these kids have altered their minds into believing that all this stuff is real, that they are indeed sick, that they actually don't feel pain, and that somebody's actively stalking them. This underground subliminal world, however, is but the tip of the iceberg when it comes to new age internet. And the crazier thing is that subliminals are actually one of the main aids that shifters use to be able to shift realities. Shifting by itself can trigger a variety of mental disorders, especially to those who are prone to them genetically. According to psychologists, reality shifting can lead to people losing touch with reality. Younger people without a strongly established sense of self can be a danger from taking in so many new identities, and this could be a predictor for psychosis. For those at risk of dissociative conditions such as psychosis and schizophrenia, it could potentially make the conditions worse. And for others, it can even trigger maladaptive daydreaming disorder, in which a person loses themselves in complex daydreams. People with such a condition are known to conjure complex imaginary worlds for them to escape to in times of distress, loneliness, and helplessness. That sounds pretty familiar to what shifting is. But before I gave out my final verdict on shifting itself and the harms that it may cause, I wanted to give shifting a chance to see what it's actually all about. Now you might be asking, have I actually tried it? Have I shifted realities? And to that I would say, no, but I was able to speak to somebody else who has. Okay, so explain what shifting is for somebody that's never heard of it, doesn't know anything about it.
Okay, so I guess to start off, I'm a pretty experienced shifter. I've shifted to I think about 20-ish places. Not all of them I continuously go back to. Some of them were for a long time, some for a short time. But I am pretty well versed in this topic. And so, essentially what the idea of shifting is going somewhere else. Perception is our reality. And so what shifting is changing your perception. There's two main theories. There are tons of other ideas out there, but the two main theories about what shifting exactly is, the two theories are the multiverse theory and the consciousness theory. So the multiverse theory, essentially what that is that there's a multiverse. And so with the multiverse theory, it's essentially either you go to sleep usually. So you go to sleep with the intention of moving your awareness your perception, to the body of another version of yourself in another reality. Because it's all connected. All the versions of you are all connected through your consciousness. Same person, just different awarenesses, different perceptions. So you're moving your current perception, your current awareness, to another body of yourself, and that current awareness, and that current perception. And you experience that body, that life's life as yourself. And a lot of people go into shifting either not fully believing it or not having all the correct information, and well, they end up screwing themselves over because it can be dangerous. Whether you believe it's real or not, what happens in your dreams can be scary if you want to look at them as dreams. Now, the consciousness theory is essentially the same thing where reality is based out of our own perception, but that our minds are powerful things. For example, the subconscious. So it essentially being going deeper within to your own mind, like meditation, or if you've heard of things like past life regressions, or or lucid dreaming. You would be going into your own head and creating a new perception of things. It'd be just as real as here because, like I said, perception is our reality. And that's the basis of everything else.
That actually sounds way more complicated than I thought. What was it like having shifted? Like, what was it like for you?
Well, I'm going to speak solely about that first time because that's what most people experience. It feels exactly like here. I mean, exactly. You're breathing, you can, feel your heartbeat if you put your hand to your chest. The sun is just as bright, just as warm. Bricks, grass, they all feel the same. And that's because I went somewhere where all of those things would feel the same. The people that you meet, the people that you form connections with, it feels the exact same thing. Because, see, my memories from those other places feel the exact same as my memories here. I'll hear a song, and it can trigger two memories at the exact same time. And those memories feel the exact same. The exact same.
Damn. I know that there's different ways to shift, right? There's different,
Yes.
What do you call
Methods.
it? Yeah, different methods. What are some methods that you've used?
So, in the beginning, I really tried to hone in on kind of the sensualization of shifting at the time, because shifting has been around for a really long time. If you do your proper research, it is at the end of the day a spiritual practice. Just like, lucid dreaming can be, or astral projecting. Like, even if you look up astral projecting and experiments done by the US government, like by the CIA with astral projection, there are declassified CIA documents about, experiments with the spiritual stuff, specifically with things like lucid dreaming or astral projecting. And so shifting has been around for a really, really long time. It's only recently been called shifting, though, and it's only recently stopped being a specific cultural, spiritual practice to being more mainstream. And so in the beginning, when it was kind of sensationalized by Tumblr at one point, but not to the grand scale that it was sensationalized on TikTok. And TikTok kind of gave birth to methods in the way that they exist now. So the idea with methods is usually sleep methods are the most common, where you're getting ready for bed and you either employ a certain routine that makes it easier for yourself. Maybe you do manifestations, you listen to a subliminal or music that reminds you of the place you're going to, stuff like that, like the Julia method, the Raven method. You can look these up. They're very common methods. Like the Raven method involves laying down in starfish position and counting, and just counting for as long as you can go, saying manifestations like I am in this place every 10 numbers or every 5 numbers, etc., etc. And then you fall asleep eventually and you wake up there.
Right. What do you say to the people that say that this is somewhat harmful, that it can trigger schizophrenia or maladaptive daydreaming disorders or other mental disorders? As a shifter yourself, what do you say to these people?
I say you're right, but not in the way that you think you are. Because shifting, while it is a concern, especially in a lot of young children, I won't say that I have had my own, mental health issues before and after or caused by shifting, because sometimes it can cause more stress. But shifting, just like religion or any other spiritual practice, can be harmful in excess. Anything can be harmful in excess. Anything can be harmful if you do too little of it and you need it. Think about religious schizophrenia, psychosis, spiritual psychosis, These things are triggered by things that we view as so necessary. How many of the people that say this believe in God and pray every single day, whether that be the Christian God or many gods. You know, how many of these people do things like meditation, anything, especially if it causes stress, especially in the community that you're in and how heavy that thing is prioritized, can cause things like psychosis, especially if you're genetically predisposed to it. Stress can cause psychosis, you know? So, yeah, it can. That's why I personally, as someone who's an experienced shifter, as someone who has been fucked over by shifting in many ways, as someone who knows many people who at the beginning of their journeys, and even to this day, still encounter really bad shit through shifting, and it is dangerous, just like many other spiritual practices could be considered dangerous. You know, make it a point to make sure that people are safe, that the right information is out there. Because just like people can be, you know, a paranoid schizophrenic and be speaking in tongues can be viewed as prophets and not mentally ill. Same thing can happen in shifting communities.
Hero believes that shifting is not only possible in a literary sense, but that through it a person can live many lifetimes in many worlds. Her herself, a 16-year-old, has already shifted to over 20 other realities. She believes that while shifting can negatively affect a person's mood or cause stress, that its true negatives aren't anything seriously harmful, even comparing it to religion. While my anonymous friend thinks that shifting is not only a damaging escape method, but that it could directly link to the development or the activation of dormant mental illnesses, and that shifting overall is a net negative to the already lonely, depressed, and anxious generation that is Gen Z. The truth is, of course, not so simple, and it's somewhat in the middle. From the outside looking in, shifting may seem like a crazy cult of teenagers devoted to some esoteric ancient form of escapism, utilizing their mental powers to create entire universes. But it's really just the same old story of vulnerable people looking for a way to escape reality. Shifting just so happens to be a literal escape. Its damn near cult-like appearance and its negative effects is one of the main reasons why I picked it to be at the start of the video, to be an introduction for you into the world of New Age beliefs. Shifting, at the end of the day, like Hero said, is a mental spiritual practice, of which there are many. Astral projection is one of them, which is when a person through transcendental meditation is able to disconnect their soul from their body and roam the earth or space freely of any boundaries. Or tulpamancy, a practice that originated in Old Tibet, which is still practiced in some corners of the internet, where people are able to develop an imaginary friend that lives inside their minds, who's able to think and feel freely from the person that originated them. All of these are mental spiritual practices, and all of them have an effect on the mind and the psyche. Shifting is but the newest spiritual trend to take over the internet. With over 13 billion views on #shifting on TikTok, reality shifting is a big club, and the fear of missing out plays a big role in all this stuff. And the younger generation is the main one that suffers from it.
I've been trying to find and help more people out because I see that people are lost in this world and there are people in the servers looking for peace, but Discord is not it. Obviously, it's the kids that are getting the ones that are getting affected. And Discord is a terrible place for kids. All the stories about what's going on Discord, scams on Discord, hacking on Discord, IP tracking on Discord is all real. It's all real. Like that's mind blowing to me. That shouldn't have happened. That's not spiritual at all. So I just wish that more parents would look out for this app and stuff like that, you know. And I just want to that's just what I want to say.
During my last video, we focused mainly on the community side of spirituality, and especially on places like spiritual Discord servers. From what we uncovered in that video was that the merging of vulnerable children, teenagers, and grown-ups created a toxic space where all kinds of illegal activity was going on without being checked. We've heard many horror stories, from grooming and blackmail to scams and doxing. Horror stories that people like Danielle and Roger from the last video saw with their own eyes from their time in those servers.
The teens and the preteens, they get groomed. They don't say anything to anybody else in the server at all because they don't know they're groomed. You know, like that's the whole point of, you know, grooming. It's just a cycle because the teenagers, the preteens, they don't tell the other people on the server that this happened to them and that these grown men are hitting on them, you know, DMing them, even sometimes relationships with them, like boyfriend-girlfriend type stuff.
They'll send you a message, they'll send you some type of like code or like secret thing to like basically get you to join a Discord server. Like, there's this one server that I have that's called like Free 5. They have this server, they like make you join through like fucking Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Like, these come to Twitter or they have like a certain Facebook or whatever, like any type of social media app to like get at you to make you join the server. And once you join, it's like everybody in there is already ranked up, so you basically are sitting there like being initiated while you're in the server.
But I would have never thought that instead of me going out there looking for one of those stories, that one of them would come straight to me. Speaking of Roger, since the last video, me and Roger reconnected again through Discord, and this is where he proposed to me an offer that I could not refuse. This is 14-year-old Caitlin Winchester. In mid-2021, Caitlin would go missing after school, presumed to be a runaway. 2 police departments in Atlanta and the FBI would search for Caitlin for the next week. Thankfully, Caitlin would be found safe and unharmed, but 800 miles away from her Georgia home, all the way in Arlington, Texas, with a 23-year-old man, Andre Marcellus McNair. Andre would be arrested for harboring a runaway child. He would be jailed and released on bond a little later. Caitlin's case would go nationwide, with news channels from all over reporting on a runaway girl that escaped home to be with some man she met online. But what the news missed is that Caitlin and Andre, the guy she ran away to, both met in a spiritual Discord server. And the reason why Caitlin ran away to Andre was because the server that they were in was promoting some pretty extreme ideas that if I were to speak about would probably get me demonetized. Ideas that would drive Caitlin to want to escape her parents' influence. This server is known as Sunflower, and it's been operating since the start of 2020. How do I know this? Well, it just so happens that Roger, who was our inside man from the last video, knew the guy personally. In fact, him and a third guy were all in the same server together with Caitlin when the whole thing went down. Roger wanted me to speak to him, claiming that there was more to the story than first meets the eye. I knew I had to hear what he had to say. After some setting up, we all got in a call together, and so what you're about to see is a never-before-seen exclusive interview with Andre McNair, the guy who harbored a 14-year-old runaway girl, all through the use of a spiritual Discord server. Okay, so I want to know the whole story. How did you end up in that situation? Take us on like a timeline of events.
So we're gonna start from when Spiritual Soul, right, posted his server on Discord, and that's when everyone started to post their servers on his server and, you know, promoting their servers and stuff. So I've met a lot of different people. He talks about different topics about conspiracy theories and spirituality and stuff like that. That's where it really started at, you know. I joined his server, you know, I've been in his server for a while. Then this girl named Jazz, she joined later on. right? When she joined, she ended up talking about a lot of stuff that kind of like caught my eye, you know what I'm saying, caught my attention when it came to like spirituality and stuff like that. So after a while, she basically gave me an invite to her server. When I joined her server, there was a lot of people in there from the past that I've met on Discord, just a bunch of people. Kaylin eventually joined too, and that was in late 2020, right? We were just on Discord a lot, you know, and I was on the internet basically every day. Jazz basically was saying, oh, you know, we should all work together and eventually move together, right? And at first, it seemed like a very far out idea. And then she started talking about we had past lives together, and we had 7 past lives basically. And she said those 7 past lives, we were all trying to get back with each other each past life, but we failed. We're supposed to come together so we can all get out of here, basically. You know, I was very interested because this is the very first time I've been in a situation like this. So I was really emotionally invested. I'm not even gonna lie to you in front of you or anything like that. I was emotionally invested, but I was still grounded in the whole situation. Not saying I completely believed everything she said, but I was really invested in trying to figure out what she was doing, you know what I'm saying, or what was going on. Caitlin was there not the entire time, but she was there like in and out during that whole time. And so I just ended up catching strong feelings for Jazz, basically. And I couldn't really shake them. And I didn't really know why, to be honest with you. And so, you know, it just everything added up for me to go and leave. You know, my home life was getting crazy with my parents. That's a little bit personal. Like she was doing a lot of stuff she was putting me it was like I was getting pushed away from my home basically. And then so I said the only place I feel like I want to go right now is to, you know, San Antonio. Basically that's where Jazz lived at the time. So I didn't go into super detail about what Jazz was doing. So basically she was saying, oh, I'm Hathor. Hathor is a goddess in Egypt mythology, but it's the goddess of love and war. But I had a vision myself. Like I closed my eyes and I seen like the realistic version of Hathor, and I seen like a whole bunch of different stuff. And during this period, before I moved to San Antonio, I never talked to Caitlin one-on-one ever before. The reason why she called me, like, basically, I didn't really know much about Caitlin other than, you know, just knowing her from Discord. You know, I knew that she was into spirituality. I was like, she came with a problem. You know, basically, she asked if she can run away or had somewhere to go. And I basically said she could, you know what I'm saying? It's up to her, you know. And a few months, I guess it took a few months for this whole thing to happen, you know what I'm saying? So I said it's up to her, like I'm not gonna tell her no. Caitlin was someone that was special, like wasn't just an ordinary person. Like she was very advanced compared to a lot of other people. So basically she wanted to get away, and I said she could come to where I was at. When she got to where we was at, and I was in the room with her, and Rico calls me, and he was like, you know that girl from Discord, you know, she's missing. And I'm like, who are you talking about? And then he was talking about Caitlin. And then I was like, oh shit, she right here. And he showed me on how the news, they were looking for her. And my parents started to call me the next day, a few days after that. My parents was like, hey, they just came to the house, you know, looking for you. They came, they asked them where you are. Eventually, they basically caught up with us because we were bouncing from location to location. They eventually got us, and they arrested me for harboring a runaway. And then, yeah, I went to jail for that. And I told them the truth about everything that was going on. I didn't want to, you know, I said there was no point in me lying. And so I told them like why she came, why she ran away, you know, and they were just, and they put me in jail, and that was it.
Are you still in contact with Caitlin or any of the people from that server?
Yeah, some people. I don't talk to Caitlin because, you know, it was a part of an agreement.
Do you have any regrets with the actions that you took, or the fact that you even joined that community to begin with?
Nah, not at all. I learned a lot.
Okay. Do you have any last words for everyone that's listening right now?
Everything is not what it seems like. You know what I'm saying? Don't judge based off of little facts. Don't act like you know it. Don't feel like you know it all already. You know, you could always be wrong in certain situations that you don't know. You know, people weren't there. A lot of people judged off of the situation. You know, but people weren't there to understand what the fuck was actually going on. So, you know, that's all I gotta say.
What happened with Caitlin was something terrible that shouldn't have gotten as far as it did in the first place. My motive for doing this interview was not to try to paint a picture or push an agenda on anyone. Obviously, this mess is long behind everyone that was a part of it, and even Andre himself was already punished for the crime that he committed. My point was to try to showcase a side of the story that was never talked about on the news or by anybody else, and that side is exactly what my last video was all about. Harmful new age communities on platforms like Discord create toxic environments that are a breeding ground for activity like this. Their cultish nature ends up only hurting everyone that is a part of it, just like how both Caitlin and Andre were both victims of the brainwashing and control of their own beliefs and the anonymous server owner, who is solely known as Jazz. Caitlin's judgment was clouded by the beliefs of the group, causing her to separate herself from her family, and Andre's closeness with Jazz and her manipulation made him leave his own family behind, and caused him to make irrational decisions with serious consequences. Two vulnerable people that found refuge in a community that treated them like family, but at the end caused both of them to develop paranoia and a disconnect from the outside world, causing them both to leave their families behind looking for a better place. But that better place turned out to be a dead end. At the very least, no one was physically hurt from this affair. After this interview concluded and we parted ways with Andre, me, Roger, and the third party who was also in that server and witnessed all of this happening, all got in a call together to talk about what had just happened. Our third party account, who we'll call K, wanted to speak about the matter from his point of view. I thought that this would be a good conclusion to this chapter.
Man, the situation with Caitlyn, I remember the whole thing because I was actually there. Like, I was in the spiritual server when it happened. I was on the phone with the dude. It's just crazy because, like, I joined the spiritual server to try to find peace just like all these other people. I wanted to be a better person for myself. I thought spirituality was it. And I guess it wasn't, because the things they did, that's not being a better person. Like, I remember when Caitlyn joined the server, and the server was full of like guys who were 20. And there were some teenagers in there, but majority of them was like 20 to 21 to 20, you know. And she was actually 14, and she told them that. So they accepted her. And anywhere you go in the world or anything you do in life, when you feel like you're accepted, you feel like that's family. So I guess she felt like the server was family, and she can speak about things that happen in her life, and she won't be judged, and whatnot. And she's young, so obviously she go believe anything she hear. So she started practicing all this spirituality, things that she read online. I don't even know how she found the server. There's kids all over Discord. They end up in weird servers. I don't even know how they find these servers. She joined the server. She's 14, so she joined the server thinking she found family, and she didn't. Like, a guy actually really tried to meet up with her. That went down, and I was disappointed, man, because like I said, I joined the spiritual server to find peace too. So it was a point in time where I felt like, they were family to me too, and it's not. The internet is a dark place. It's a very deceiving place. It's full of weirdos. It's full of crazy. Especially Discord. I don't think no child should be on this app. And speaking of the situation with my man Ark, like, Ark is a good person. He was trying to find peace too. That's why he was in the server, and he just did the wrong thing at the wrong time, met the wrong people, hung with the wrong people. Like I said, the internet is a dark place. So I don't know why he didn't think to look at her age and be like, oh no, she's 14, I can't help this girl, I can't meet up with this girl. But like I said, they all feel like they family, brothers and sisters, like they all feel like they gotta die for each other.
Andre believes that this Jazz figure was part of his downfall, that she manipulated him into separating himself from his family and taking on Caitlyn when she needed help. Obviously, I can't speak much on Andre's intentions with Caitlyn or with Jazz's intentions with Andre. I wasn't there. I really only have as much information as I was given. And our third-party account, who we'll call K, believed that Andre only had good intentions when he allowed Caitlyn, the 14-year-old, to stay at his place. He believed that blame cannot be put on only one person, but onto the whole spiritual Discord communities as a whole for being dangerous environments for minors. And Jazz, well, I can't really speak about her either. At the end of the day, we can all agree that everyone involved in that situation had left the group having gone through more trauma, problems, and inflictions than when they first arrived. Did the New Age spiritual community help these people? Or did it only exacerbate the negativity in their lives? For me, the answer is quite obvious. And as this video goes on, I hope there will also become for you. I want to emphasize that I'm not here to blame spirituality itself, because spirituality can be a great tool for many people in need of help and guidance. I even know myself many of those people who benefited greatly from having joined the right spiritual community. I'm here to criticize and shine a light on an ugly side that's rarely shown, one that takes in vulnerable people in need of help and support and spits out even more damaged individuals. One that is ruled by narcissist, mentally ill individuals and self-destructive belief systems. And it doesn't help that it's so easy to slip into a toxic community rather than a beneficial one, because on surface level, they both seem identical. Caitlyn is but one case of many thousands, and as you will see from the upcoming chapters, this toxicity is not only prevalent in online spiritual spaces, but it also bleeds in perhaps even more when it comes to the real life stuff, transforming itself into something that stops resembling a positive spiritual space altogether and starts resembling something much closer to a full-blown cult.
Hi all. I wanted to share a little bit of my experience with being recruited to bizarre spiritual cults via Reddit. Essentially, I sometimes will receive a message saying that my post was informative and would be a great addition to our little community or something like that. Upon joining these communities, usually via Discord, there is a promise of love. We are your new best friends. And a hierarchy of power. Please interview with X. He is enlightened and our super admin. Often these organizations appear to be well organized, as if they are a business. Many of us come to spirituality because we are not having a good time in our lives. We feel isolated, lonely, confused, bored. These things can make us vulnerable to being recruited by a group that doesn't have our best interests in mind. From what I understand, at least one of these Discord groups is a direct recruiting funnel to the SRF, Yogananda's cult, been around forever. I want to point out that being actively recruited to a spiritual community should be a red flag. The Buddhists do not recruit. Cults recruit. A truly spiritual being has no need to recruit followers. Please review other signs of being recruited to a cult before making a decision to give your time, money, or effort to one of these communities. There are many loving communities out there. I have been part of several spiritual communities on Discord for years. The difference between a cultish community and an authentic community is a hierarchy of power. Authentic spiritual communities have no leader, no central authority, no dogma. I wish you all love and freedom.
love, and freedom. Perhaps that's something we can all agree to be interested in. Joining groups that promise those things, though, doesn't always pan out the way you think it would. There is, however, an even darker side of this, and that's when New Age spiritual movements stop trying to be positive spaces altogether and fully give in to the dark side. When New Age spiritual movements turn into New Age spiritual cults. And sadly, history is full of them. But instead of me just telling you about them, I'll just let somebody else bring you up to speed.
History is full of deeply troubling and disturbing cults that have altered the state of the world as we know it forever. Some of them are more known than others, but their impact on our pop culture cannot be ignored. While there is no formal log on every alleged cult in the country, the US government estimates that there are around 10,000 cults operating within the state right now. Today, I'm going to go over some of the most infamous New Age cults whose stories, leaders, and actions have caused ripples throughout society. Heaven's Gate. Founded in 1974 and led by Bonnie Nelds and Marshall Applewhite, Heaven's Gate is seen by many as the cult of all cults, formerly known as the Human Individual Metamorphosis and Total Overcomers Anonymous. Heaven's Gate operated as a cult out of New Mexico and later San Diego, California. Their belief systems were a mixture of Christianity, New Age, and ufology, which is pretty much the belief in aliens, extraterrestrial visitors, and flying saucers. The central belief of the group was that followers could transform themselves into immortal, extraterrestrial beings by rejecting their human nature, and they would ascend to heaven, referred to as the next level or the evolutionary level above human. This belief would later evolve into the rejection of the human body as something that there is nothing but a container or a vehicle of the soul. On March 20th, 1997, Marshall Applewhite taped himself speaking of a mass suicide and the only way to evacuate this Earth, after asserting that a spacecraft was trailing Comet Hellbop and that this event would represent a closure to Heaven's Gate. Applewhite persuaded 38 followers to prepare for ritual suicide so their souls could board the supposed craft. Applewhite believed that after their death, a UFO would take their souls to another level of existence above human, which he described as being both physical and spiritual. Their preparation included each member videotaping a farewell message. On March 26, 1997, the San Diego County Sheriff Department would discover the bodies of 39 members of the group, including Applewhite, in a San Diego home. Their cause of death was suicide by phenobarbital, which in high doses causes death. The group's website was updated with the message, "Hellbop brings closure to Heaven's Gate. Our 22 years of classroom here on planet Earth is finally coming to conclusion. Graduation from the human evolutionary level. We are happily prepared to leave this world and go to T's crew." A little known fact is that the Heaven's Gate website is still up and running till this day. You can actually visit it if you look up heavensgate.com. Aum Shinrikyo. Aleph, the cult formerly as Aum Shinrikyo, was a Japanese doomsday cult founded by Shoko Asahara in 1987. Ashara's main doctrine that led to the creation of the cult was a belief system that drew upon interpretations of early Buddhism and Hinduism while also incorporating Christian ideas. By 1992, Ashara would publish his first book where he declared himself as Christ and Japan's only enlightened master. Ashara would then claim that his purported mission was to take upon himself the sins of the world while also declaring that he could transfer spiritual powers to his followers. Then he predicted a final conflict culminating in a nuclear Armageddon that would end humanity except for the elite few who would join him. Ashara predicted the gathering at Armageddon would happen in 1997. The cult attracted many young, elite university students and graduates who believed that the apocalypse was near and that they would be the only ones to survive. Sadly and predictably though, the cult that promised salvation slowly turned into a organization where and his followers carried out assassinations and on Japan. As by 1994 and 1995, the cult would have killed around 27 people and injuring 6,000 in their Tokyo subway and their Matsumoto using sarin, an extremely toxic synthetic liquid that is completely colorless and odorless, a potent nerve agent of which exposed to is lethal. Then in 2018, after exhausting appeals, Ashara and 6 followers were executed as a punishment for their crimes, ending the fear and terror that Ashara caused the Japanese people for so long. Love has won. In 2006, Amy Carlson, a former McDonald's employee, left her husband and children in Texas to live with people she met online, saying that she was destined to usher humanity into a grand awakening. Amy would then go ahead and start a full-fledged cult out in Colorado where her and around 20 full-time members would live together. This group would come to be known as Love Has Won. The group that Amy led would only refer to her as Mother God or simply Mother and Mom, as the group believed Amy to have been an ancient queen from the lost continent of Lemuria that has reincarnated more than 500 times, having lived as Marilyn Monroe, Cleopatra, and Jesus Christ. The cult had an active YouTube channel where they would do daily live streams to recruit new members, solicit donations, and promote new age products. In fact, the group also offered something they called etheric surgeries that would cost $88 a session, where Amy herself would be able to heal and remove any sickness a person has all through a video call, even claiming to be able to do full surgeries and even heal cancer. All would be good for the cult until around October of 2020, where certain members of the group would post around social media claiming that Mom is sick and that, quote, "There's been moments that Mom has asked us to take her to a 3D hospital and we're like, no," believing that Mom is too complex of a being to be treated at a normal human hospital. Around April of 2021, a member of the cult would walk into the Salida Police Department and tell the authorities that they would find Amy at his house in Crestone, Colorado. When the police went around the house to do a wellness check on Amy and to verify that she had indeed passed away, the police were absolutely horrified by what they found. At the back of the home, inside of Amy's room, they found a fully mummified corpse of a 45-year-old Amy wrapped in blankets and Christmas lights. Her body was in an advanced state of decomposition. Her eyes had deteriorated to the point that they appeared to be missing entirely, and the area around the empty sockets had been dusted with glitter. Her lips had receded, causing her teeth to protrude from her mouth. She was shockingly thin, and her skin was blue. And the entire thing was shot on body cam footage. After Carlson's body was found, 7 members of the group were arrested on charges of abuse of a corpse and child abuse, as 2 children were in the presence of the body. Carlson's cause of death has not been made public. And there you have it, 3 disturbing examples of well-known cults throughout history, all 3 of them ending in tragedy, and best believe that there is a lot more where that came from, as history is full to the brim with strange people starting bizarre groups and beliefs and causing harm to hundreds of people in the process. As long as there are vulnerable people on Earth, there will be people out there to use that vulnerability for their own twisted benefit.
As long as there are vulnerable people on Earth, there will always be people out there trying to use that vulnerability for their benefit. A sad truth, but a truth nonetheless. The damage that these cult leaders have caused throughout history is irreparable. It's sad to see that some of these cults, like Love Has Won, happened as recently as last year. In fact, besides Love Has Won, there is still another extremely harmful cult or movement that is still operating till this day, right here on this very platform. A satanic cult that you actually might have heard about a couple of years ago.
I only want 144,000 to place their blood beside my own that can see it. We're going to lead the way with the first wave, open up the doorway. What I was going to point out today was something that I discovered about this blood magic, and like that video where I'm protesting outwardly to the world that this world is mine and that no one can stop me. And I've been doing this for a while now, and what I'm doing is I'm beating the Ethernet. I don't care if I get views. What I'm doing is I'm beating it into the matrix, and then it unfolds somehow. So what I've noticed is that when I spill my blood over my intent, I did it the one time that I published it to the Ethernet, and then you see, I started making videos where I could start seeing, and I started pointing out that Jesus is the Son and that I am the Antichrist himself.
This is Mark Braun, aka Quasi-Luminous. Mark is a man of many talents. He is a flat earther first and foremost, a meth addict, an abusive schizophrenic, a thief, a self-proclaimed reincarnation of Satan himself, and a leader of one of the biggest new age movements on YouTube and TikTok, Blood Over Intent. Braun would begin his career on YouTube in the Flat Earth community, focusing more on the conspiracy side. His content would quickly turn esoteric as Braun's ramblings would transform into core beliefs for his channel, and eventually would turn into a whole new age movement. These beliefs are based on two things: the fact that Braun claims to be Satan reincarnate, and that he possesses the Book of Life, which according to him has space for 144,000 names to be written on it. Those whose names are in the book will avoid an afterlife of endless and pointless suffering. The only way to get your name onto this book is by performing his Blood Over Intent ritual. This ritual serves as a sign of life and acknowledgement to Satan himself. It's performed by spilling one's own blood on a piece of paper on which a sentence like, "I bring forth heaven on earth for the benefit of all," is written on it. The most important part though, to prove that you've indeed done the ritual, is to upload a video of it onto YouTube. And so since 2018, thousands of videos of people doing a ritual would be uploaded from all over the world, so much that it would garner mainstream news attention. By 2019, a man named Devin Maggi would rise into a role of leadership under his YouTube channel named Flat Earth Paradise. After having a big falling out with Mark, Devin would go on to become the biggest voice of the movement. He would raise money for a Project SEAL, in which he aimed to travel to the North Pole to prove that there's a giant hole there leading to the Garden of Eden. He would later abandon all talks about Blood Over Intent and would go deeper into New Age beliefs. He would proclaim himself to be the reincarnation of Hermes Trismegistus, and he would later build a sanctuary out in Oregon named the Sophia Sanctuary, believed to be an actual cult. As of 2 years ago, Mark Braun would disappear off the face of the internet. Sadly though, while the cult leaders both moved on from the Blood Over Intent idea, the movement itself still lives on, and still draws in members till this day. If you go onto YouTube and look up hashtag Blood Over Intent, hashtag 144,000, or hashtag Heaven on Earth, you will see for yourself videos being uploaded as late as a couple of hours ago. Even without its leaders, this satanic cult still lives on within the corners of YouTube. This is 19-year-old Dylan Thomas Potney. He goes by Juniper Crossing on YouTube. Dylan was a strange kid. He was pretty antisocial, dealt with anger issues, and was known on his channel for his signature chain smoking. In March 2021, Dylan would upload his last video onto YouTube, titled "Smoking in a Car, Full Vid." The video is a 3-minute clip of Dylan and his father on their way to school, a drive that they would regularly take every morning. However, that morning was not going to be anything close to regular, because Dylan had other plans. See, Dylan wasn't just a chain-smoking, antisocial teenager with issues, he was also a deep conspiracy theorist, a flat earther, and a proud member of the satanic cult that is Blood Over Intent. By scrolling down his channel, you can even see his proof of blood ritual in a 1-minute video titled Blood Over Intent, Proof of Life, Quasi-Luminous. And so on that day, Dylan would upload his last video. He would go into class, pull out a knife, and stab his classmate sitting right next to him, 17-year-old Jennifer Winkler, killing the teenager the same morning. Nobody knows why Dylan would do this, but many will theorize that it had to do with blood over intent. Looking back at his channel now after knowing all this is quite unsettling. What began as a crazy man's ramblings turned into a blood cult that would go viral over YouTube and would end in a loss of a life of an innocent girl. Dylan was the perfect target for the cult. His mental state was unstable, he was susceptible to extremist beliefs, and he was alienated by his antisocial behavior. Because over the internet, you don't need to go around giving out flyers or personally recruiting people to your strange group with weird beliefs. You can instead just put out your crazy ideas out there into the ether, and the right kind of people will come straight to you. This modern day of cult recruitment is called cybersectarianism, defined as the phenomena of new religious movements and other groups using the internet for text distribution, recruitment, and information sharing. This is the backbone of every modern new age operation on the internet, whether they themselves realize it or not. Following the 4 golden steps of cult recruitment, picking the right target, love bombing, isolation, and control, new age groups and cults have been able to grow bigger and faster than ever before over the internet. Utilizing the global reach of platforms like YouTube, Reddit, and TikTok, they are able to spread their ideologies far and wide. And as it turns out, picking the right target is fairly easy online. Most people can be susceptible to cult influences under the right conditions. In fact, research has shown that the people who are most susceptible to cult recruitment are those stressed, emotionally vulnerable, have tenuous or no family connections, or are living in adverse socioeconomic conditions. These types of easily influenced people are for the most part teenagers who are still forming their identity and still looking for a place to fit in. Once an individual has found their way into one of these communities or has been recruited to one, then the love bombing phase begins. Having joined a cultish community due to stress or emotional vulnerability to begin with, the person is then flooded with affection, flattery, purpose, and validation, making them feel special and unique, something they lacked in their regular life. Once the emotional connection has been made, then the paranoia of the outside world slowly starts creeping in, which initiates the isolation phase. This phase can sometimes happen naturally, or it can be initiated by the person themselves without any influence from the greater group. If the individual feels as if their thoughts and ideas are rejected by the greater populace. Once that happens, then the group solidifies itself, blocking off any outside noise, creating an online echo chamber for everyone within while rejecting everything on the outside. Once this isolation phase is in full motion, then the group naturally turns more authoritarian and we slowly move on into the control phase, creating an us versus them mindset. And as a spiral of isolation is set in motion, the group slowly turns more extreme and controlling. This process is meant to disrupt a person's authentic identity and replace it with a new one. This can be seen in both real-life cases and over the internet. The majority of cults and cultish groups all start as positive spaces and only turn dangerous once the members have fully invested into the movement and the echo chamber is fully formed to allow the use of peer pressure and guilt shaming for control. Cultish groups prey on your desire to be the best version of yourself, convincing you that the group is helping you achieve everything you've wanted. They give you love and acceptance, they promise self-enlightenment and a purposeful life. But all that ends up happening at the end is that everyone is left at a significantly worse state than they were before. And due to this, the line between a fully fledged cult and a simple group of people that believe in something out of the ordinary can, for the most part, be blurred. That's why we must always be cognizant of any group of people promising you salvation or something beyond yourself on the internet, because most of the time, there is a price to pay. Whether it's something as small as shifting negatively affecting young people's mental health, a Discord server that caused a teenage girl to escape home, or a satanic blood cult that ended in the loss of a young girl's life. Strange communities on the internet have existed since the start and will always continue to exist. You've reached the end of the video, which means that you've probably enjoyed it, so thank you so much. I just want to take a second to give a shout out and a thank you to everyone that helped in the making of this video, to all the people that allowed me to interview them, to Hero, to my anonymous friend, to Andre and Kay, to Danielle, and a very special thanks to my good friend, Morbidforfun, for coming in clutch and doing his collab, which is my first collab on his channel. I also want to thank my good friend Gino for doing some of the voice acting. He's been in a couple of my videos now. I will have everyone's links in the description below, and a very special thanks to you all for sticking with me. These documentary style videos like this one take a long time to make just because of the mixture of topics and ideas. Trying to make a cohesive video out of all the interviews, the research, and the investigation, while I enjoy making them, does take a long time to make. So let me know in the comments what kind of content you want to see more of. Follow all my socials in the description. I'm always active on them and I give out updates. And I also have a Discord server that you can join. All the links again are in the description below. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support. And I will see you all very soon.